Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful Monday with us on Live with Lloyd. I am your host, astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn. I have an exciting guest today. As I told you, this is Education Week. School is starting officially, I think, toward the end of this week, I think on the 8th of September. So I wanted to have one of the most distinguished persons when it comes to education, Dr. Umar Johnson, who will be with us in just a moment. So if you got questions about your children, some of the do's and don'ts, some of the parental rights, or whatever the case is that I can think of, if I can't, I'm sure he will tell us. But in the meantime, before I do that, I do want to tell you about the forecast for today. Here we go. As you know, and last week I forgot to say it. Please like, share, and subscribe. But anyway, Live with Lloyd, where the joy of numerology is the joy of learning and enlightenment. So please like, please share, please subscribe. I tell you, one day I'm going to do it so automatic. But right now, please do that if you really enjoyed the show. This is Monday, September the 5th of 2022. The moon is in the sign of Virgo. Excuse me, the sun is in Virgo, the moon is in Capricorn. So they're both earth sign going today. That means keeping it practical. Even it's a 6 universal month, which is an earth number. It's a 7 universal week, which is a water week, which is feelings, emotions. But it is the 11 universal day, which is a day for enlightenment. And the first sign today is Leo, which happens to be my guest, Dr. Umar Johnson, Aquarius, Cancer, Gemini, Virgo, or if you're born on the 2nd, the 5th, the 11th, the 14th, the 20th, 23rd, and 29th of any month, this is or should be a very important day for you. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my very special guest, and let me get this done. All right, folks, here I am. I've met this distinguished gentleman on a couple of occasions in Newark. And the last time he was there, we were talking. I got a copy of his book. And so I thought it would be interesting, thanks to one of the astrologers who suggested to have Dr. Umar on. And I'm going to bring him on, in fact, right now as we speak. Dr. Umar, how are you, sir?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Elder. Glad to be with you.
Good, 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 good. I have a couple of questions, sir. One of them is they've got this thing now about cancel culture. First of all, to you as an educational scholar in that sense, what is culture? What does culture mean?
For me, culture is a progressive system for the expansion of life and the progress of one's community. If the habit or the behavior engaged in does not lead to growth, progress, sustainability, peace, and happiness for members in that community, then it's not culture, it's pathology. And I think too often pathology is misrepresented as culture. For example, if you look at our gangster rap community, you see the promotion by many artists, but not all, of misogyny, conspicuous consumption, uncontrolled drug use, violence against other Black males. In my opinion, that cannot be culture. That's not the culture of hip hop. That's the pathology of hip hop. And I think so often pathology is mislabeled as culture. Culture is progressive. Pathology is degenerative.
Now, for those who may not understand, what is the word, and from your definition as an educator, the word pathology?
Pathology is an illness or a system of behavior that minimizes positive outcomes for individuals and communities. So mental illnesses are pathologies. Personality disorders are pathologies. Poverty can be considered a pathology. Homicide, exploitation, racism, all of these are pathological behaviors because they limit life and lead to disastrous outcomes for the victims who are exposed to them.
That's deep. That's deep. Now, in light of that, there's this new thing that has been coming up within the last couple of years called cancel culture. For example, I was reading a piece where there was an educator, a brother, who was teaching about the Civil War, and he was explaining that part of the cause of the Civil War between the North and the South was because of slavery, that there was certain parents that disagreed with it, and he actually lost his position. So does
Wow.
cancel culture means trying to cancel out the fact, for example, like Lewis Latimer, the inventor, who was able to stabilize Thomas Edison's light bulb so it didn't burn out so quickly or burn hot. If you would discuss the role he played in the common light bulb and stuff like that, would they cancel? Is this what cancel culture means? That anything that people of color do, that black people especially, that they're going to try to erase it? That's impossible.
It's impossible, but I definitely believe that that is exactly what cancel culture is. In fact, Baba, although the concept is new, the actual phenomena is not. They have been canceling our culture ever since we got here. We have been robbed of our inventions since we got here. You know, they have
Sure.
tried to erase and dismiss the entire contribution of Nile Valley civilization to human evolution. So I would say that cancel culture is nothing new for African people. The only thing new about it is the name.
But the game is still the same, as we
The
used to.
game is still the same. They changed the names, but the game is still the same. So, for example, Baba, right now, there's a movement. About one third of the states have either passed laws or in the process of passing law to make it illegal to teach about racism and slavery in the classroom. Interesting. It's part of the anti woke movement, where things that quote unquote woke, anything that goes against the dominant Eurocentric male agenda or narrative is considered woke. And so, one of the ways they're trying to control the woke narrative is by dismissing a curriculum that would be damaging to America's true reputation.
But seem like that culture, that way of thinking will really be to their disadvantage to eliminate the power and the contribution and the influence we've done from everything from math, science, religion, arts, whatever.
One,
Am I wrong,
no,
Dr.
you're
Umar?
correct, Baba, but you have to look at this. What we are experiencing right now as African people in America is the elimination of the African contribution to American civilization as a pretext to the genocide of African people. Usually, when you erase people's contributions, these are people who are almost extinct, no longer around. They're doing it right in front of our faces. And I think one of the big reasons why they're doing it, Baba, is they want to kill the conversation around reparations. I think they feel that one of the best ways to kill the reparations conversation is to do away with discussion on the actual historical actions that gave birth to our quest for reparations. So you can kill, if there's no conversation around slavery, there can't be no conversation around reparations. And I think that's one of the reasons why they want to remove instruction about slavery and racism from America's public school curriculum.
That makes all the sense in the world because for me, it says, well, what are they afraid of? What could there be that
Truth.
it would be that, yes, I guess truth does hurt. But the truth is the truth is the truth, no matter how you say it, sir. I would think, Dr. Umar,
That's true.
would I be correct, sir?
Absolutely correct. And truth is the enemy of white supremacy. White supremacy, in and of itself, is a lie. White people are not supreme. Okay, the supremacist position that they have is due to bloodshed, exploitation, manipulation, an unfair advantage against other peoples in this world, especially African people. So the concept of white supremacy in and of itself is a lie, which has given birth to the white man's burden. If I'm telling the world I'm supreme, I now have a burden to constantly keep that narrative alive. And this is why they have to continue to kill, to exploit, to dominate, and of course, to colonize information and people's access to that information. So the white man's burden is in the fact that he has to perpetuate this myth of white supremacy.
That's interesting, sir. Dr. Omar, when I published my book years ago, the average reading grade in this country was third grade. Fast forward about 25 years plus later, the average reading grade is only eighth grade. And I'm saying, am I losing something after 20 something years? The only reading level is going 5 points, because the reading level, from what I understand, is the ability to understand that which the person has gotten. They've got this algorithm called Flesh Canard reading. Are you familiar with that, sir?
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's supposedly to determine the reading level of a country. All
Okay.
righty. But I know this: when I did the reading scores around the world in science, math, and reading, the United States ranks number 24th. Okay, and math, it ranks number 39.
Hmm.
And also in reading, it ranks number 24. So I know there was about maybe 2 months ago, before having you on, they were talking about one of these multi-billionaires or industrialists back in the early 1900s, where his whole thing, they don't want to train a nation of critical thinkers, but train a nation of workers.
Absolutely. The whole purpose of public education is to produce a better educated, low wage earner. The reason you have compulsory education in America is because corporate America, big business, put pressure on the government to produce a better educated, low wage earner. Children are not educated to go to college. They're not educated to invest in the stock market. They're not educated to open their own business. They are educated so they can go enslave for the corporations of America. In addition to that, public education also serves a very useful function to the maintenance of white supremacy by recruiting white students and, of course, black students who are willing to be loyal to the white power structure and continue to perpetuate its agenda. And the third purpose of public education is to socialize the individuals into the mindset, habits, and thinking that are conducive to the best interests of the society and the country itself, which is to say, the purpose of education is brainwash. Schooling and education are two completely different things. Education is the process by which you teach a child to think. Schooling is a process by which you teach the child what to think. So children in America, black and white, they are schooled. They are not educated. And America wants to keep it that way because if you think about it, a truly educated child is a threat to the social order. A truly educated child, a liberated mind, is a threat to a society that is controlled through domination and exploitation. You do not want liberated minds in a system controlled by domination and exploitation. This is why the Rockefellers founded the General Education Board, Baba. The Rockefellers created their own board of education
Mm.
to recommend what public school should focus on. They made sure public school didn't focus on economics. They made sure public schools didn't focus on politics. They made sure public schools didn't focus on international relations. Anything that was detrimental to the agenda of the global white power structure was kept out of public school. And this Rockefeller General Education Board funded white universities, funded public schools, funded HBCUs. Spelman University in Atlanta is a product of the Rockefeller General Education Board. So from the very beginning, the education of America's children, especially the black ones, that was never intended to liberate the mind. It was intended to incarcerate the mind.
Well, you know what's interesting? What I thought is, I think it's funny. Everything is going up. The price of food is going up. The price of rent, like in Manhattan, they said now the average price of rent is going to be about $4,000 a month. But
Mhm.
then the person working in a McDonald's or some other fast food, their raises don't go up. And then there's this talk, well, we'll increase the minimum wage in about 5 years or 2 years, and that gives people this positive attitude. But milk is not going to be the same price 2 years from now. Rent is not going to be the same price 2 years from now. Or am I missing something in this equation, sir?
You're not missing anything at all. In fact, the U.S. Department of Treasury, Bobby, the U.S. Treasury, they just announced not too long ago that they're taking pennies out of circulation. It started with pennies. So you would no longer get pennies. And then they're going to work on nickels, dimes, quarters, and then dollar bills. A part of this is about the removal of a liquid currency. They want to go to a digital currency system. That's why you hear so much about a digital currency now, because you can totally supervise and control a digital currency market, Baba. In other words, if America was already on a digital currency system, 100% digital, no dollars, no fives, no 20s, no 50s, everything is on your card, Baba. If that existed 100 years ago, there would have never been a Marcus Messiah Garvey. There would have never been a Black Panther Party, because you cannot do anything off grid or undercover to finance the Black Revolution movement in a fully digitized currency market. And that's what America wants. That's what the white power structure of the world wants, Baba, because once you control access to money digitally, once you can supervise what people do with digital currency, there is no more financial freedom. Anything you use your money for that is a threat to the power structure will be taken away from you. They can hit one button and shut you down.
In fact, that's what they tried to do in Canada when the truckers went on strike. Okay,
Yes,
against taking the jab and whatnot. They wanted to tie up the people who actually, those truckers. They wanted to tie up their banking resources. Okay,
absolutely.
and so now I understand they're doing it with Cash App, PayPal, some the traditional ways that sometimes other people will create income. And so I just think it's amazing to have absolute control that way. And but I didn't realize that some of these coins are now going to be shrinking. I do know there are times when you need cash, and then sometimes they're not accepting cash, but you have to pay by either debit or credit card, or now
Absolutely.
you tap your phone. I mean, you tap your card to get into the subway. All kinds of things now. They're trying to. They call it making it convenient,
That's
but
the disguise, Baba. That's the disguise. Convenience is the disguise that control often wears to seduce its victims. Because, Baba, once you control the flow of money, there can never be another revolution. Revolutions have to be financed. There's never been a revolution that wasn't financed. Black, white, Chinese, Russian, it got to be financed. If you control digitally and electronically, if you can, Baba, if I can monitor every time you make a purchase on the computer, I see where you're going, I see what you bought, I see what it costs. How can you work against the power structure when they can see what you're doing with your money? You cannot. Digital currency is a trap for African revolution. It's one of the worst things we could get into. But the way they rolled it out was clever, Baba, because they rolled it out in such a way to make you think this was a grassroots strategy. People are tired of the major white power structure banks. People are tired of the global bankers controlling the money. So we're going to come up with our own digital currency. That's total nonsense. You know why, Baba? Because we don't control the internet. We do not control the internet. So there's no way digital currency can be a revolutionary form of financial exchange when you don't control the internet that you need in order to use your digital currency. It's a trap.
you know what's interesting? Let's say I purchase some shoes, right, on the internet.
Yes, sir.
About a day or two later, come shoes coming across my whatever I'm looking at.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing
Yes.
in advertisers.
Yes.
You purchase a trip, all of a sudden you'll get advertisers. So, in other words, people are actually monitored now. To be very honest with you, you
Oh,
can't
yes.
really do anything without it, especially purchasing on an internet
Oh, for
will come
sure.
back on. So I
Every website, every social media platform, every email platform, they track your behavior, your spending, your conversations, your friends. Your movement is tracked and it is charted and it is sold to marketeers in order to help them raise their profits. And if they're doing that financially, Baba, they absolutely are doing that politically.
I think that
Social media is a trap. which is why we only use it for what we need it for, as you're doing now by educating the community. I'll get on my social media to educate. But beyond that, I have nothing to do with it, because social media is nothing more than a trap as well to convince you to broadcast your entire life, step by step, blow by blow, emotion by emotion, bathroom visit to bathroom visit to the entire world, so the government can look right into your life whenever it feels like it.
In fact, when this first came out, they did a snippet of an interview from a CIA before Congress that the internet was one of the best kept things for them,
Mhm.
in the sense that people tell where they're going, what they're eating, who to
Absolutely.
take out,
Absolutely.
so they don't have to go through the COINTEL pretty much as so much as
Absolutely.
people
Do you
put
know how
the
easy it
business out
is?
there.
Yes, Baba. It you know how much easier the FBI and CIA's job is because of email, internet, and social media, and now digital currency? They don't have to dress, they don't have to follow you around the world no more. They don't have to, follow you and track you down. No. All they
Clandestine
have to, they can
activities.
sit home, Baba, and work from home now, because everything they need to know about you is on your phone, it's in your email, it's on your social media. The job of the FBI and CIA is probably the easiest it has ever been.
You know what's interesting? There was a thing where a gentleman was on parole, right? And part of the parole, he was not supposed to have any weapons, guns, or anything like that. But he went on the internet and posed with a gun and got himself arrested.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
so it's uh and then what you put it out there, it's out there forever.
Mm,
So it seems as if they take a more permanent record of everything that is said, everything that is done. And I
everything, Baba.
now let me ask you this though, Dr. Umar. What made you go down the path of education to kind of really turn our people on to the things that we should be doing, especially young black men?
Yes, sir, Baba. I'm going to preface my answer by saying that one of the reasons I have so much confidence in the work that I do as being my divine decree is because I chose to be a psychologist in the third grade, Baba. We were living in North Carolina. And I chose to be a psychologist because I didn't have a big brother who I could talk to and confide in. So I said, when I get older, I'm going to be the big brother that any young princess or prince can talk to if they have nobody else. So it
Hmm.
was out of a social concern for our children that I chose in the third grade as an 8-year old to be a psychologist. I had no idea, okay, that 20 years later, I would come face to face with the school to prison pipeline, the special ed and ADHD Holocaust against Black children. And so, although I got into the field of psychology for benevolent reasons, that hunger to be a psychologist would be politicized once I saw how special ed and ADHD and mental health was being weaponized against Black people and Black children. And also, Baba, that was third grade. Fourth and fifth grade, I was in Black history class in North Philadelphia. It just so happened my school had a Black history class. It was not a district mandate. I just lucked up. And that's how
Hmm.
I got introduced to Black consciousness. That's also how I got introduced to public speaking, because I was in a Black history month oratorical contest in the fourth and fifth grade, and I won first place both times. So that was the birth of the oratory with the consciousness. And then in sixth grade, I believe it was, I went to my first family reunion in Baltimore when I learned I was related to Frederick Douglass. So by the time I left elementary school, Baba, my life path was already set.
That's because almost everything we do as adults happens, or there's a seed is always planted in our childhood, almost always. You
Absolutely.
know, our
Absolutely.
personalities, some of the things we choose, the roads we go down eventually starts in
Absolutely.
our childhood. Um, so here's the thing that concerns me now, which is, for example, I saw there was something on one of these media sites where the grandfather had to go to the daycare center because they had dressed his grandson in a dress,
Yes.
and the grandson was 2 years old.
Yes.
What is this gender bending about? Am I missing
Absolutely.
something, sir?
The effeminization campaign against black boys has three major goals, Baba. One of those goals is to effeminize the boy to such an extent that he's attracted to boys and thereby will not be interested in reproducing his bloodline. So genocide is the primary goal of the gender bender campaign. That's number one. Number two, an effeminized black male is no threat to the white power structure. Okay, Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosser, Denmark Vesey, Maurice Bishop, Garvey, Douglas,
Yeah.
Dessalines, Overture, Nkrumah, Lumumba. You have to be a divine manifestation of masculine power if you're going to go against the white power structure. So if they can effeminize you, you are no longer a threat, which is why in American society right now, Baba, if you've noticed, many of the black males who have ascended to high positions in media, politics, religion, and other sectors, most of them, they may not be homosexual, but many of them have a very non-threatening, docile, very composed, and in many instances, effeminate demeanor and disposition that keeps the white power structure at ease and at peace with their presence. The white power structure is not comfortable with assertive, aggressive, self-confident, masculine black males. So they want to switch us all out, Baba, for effeminate, okay, low self-esteemed, non-threatening males. Because remember, a woman is going to look to the man for strength. So
Yes.
if I can effeminize your son, he's not thinking about challenging white supremacy. He's thinking about joining white supremacy.
And what about the case where they got now girls looking at girls?
It's the exact same thing. So now they want to masculinize the woman for the same reason they want to effeminize the boy. If you masculinize the woman, now she wants to be with a woman, you see. And so now she also is committing self-inflicted genocide by not reproducing
Because they can't
herself.
produce. Yeah, because if the same sex cannot produce anything,
Exactly.
two men,
Absolutely.
two women, biologically, according to
Absolutely.
the laws
It's
of
against
God and
divine
nature,
order. It's
it's
against
not going to
divine order.
happen.
Absolutely. But one of the unique benefits to the white power structure of the masculinization of black women, Baba, lies in the fact that when you masculinize the black woman, when you already have a politically and economically castrated black male, you give power to her, and now she joins in with the white power structure in the oppression of the black male, i.e., child support, i.e., custody wars, i.e., I don't need a man, i.e., you can't tell me what to do, i.e., I make more money than you, I'm more educated than you. The black man is the only man in America, Baba, who's out earned and out educated by his woman. That is on purpose, because the white man does not consider the black woman a threat. She only becomes a threat when she's united with her black man. So divide and conquer, separate and rule, take the natural authority of the community from the man, give it to his woman. And so now the black man ain't got time to fight white supremacy because he's too busy being at war with his own woman.
And I've noticed now that women, especially women, black women, will like to talk about how many degrees they got,
Mm-hmm.
how much their salaries are.
Mm-hmm.
And although it's been known that, men don't care, I mean, not less of you got a man depending upon a woman, but real men don't do that. Real
Right.
men carve their way on this planet. They
That's right,
carve
Bob.
their way in this culture. You see what I'm
See,
saying?
absolutely. The fact that the woman out earns the man, Baba, is not an issue. The fact that she out educates him is not an issue. If my woman makes more money than me, that's not a problem. If she has more degrees than me, that's not a problem. It only
Exactly.
becomes the problem if she buys into the European narrative as to why she out earns me and why she out educates me. And if she attributes her success as being greater than mine to the fact that I'm lazy, irresponsible, childish. See, it's the attributions, Baba, that cause the problems. I'm making more money than you because you're less intelligent than me. I'm making more money than you because I'm more ambitious than you. I'm making more money than you because I'm a harder worker. That's not the truth. You're making more money than me because you're not a threat to the power structure, and I am.
What about people who think that, like, man, you just talking a whole lot of stuff? I know you must go through that. I know you must go through that. That, well, this is all this because obviously something is happening where we're at odds because now they call it gender wars.
Oh yeah, it's a
And,
very big thing.
yeah, but lions and lioness don't fight each other.
No, they don't.
Polar bears don't fight each
No,
other.
they don't.
Gorillas don't fight each other, or
No, they
any
don't.
other animal form of the species in nature don't fight each other. They all act in unison.
It is not a coincidence, Baba. It is not a coincidence that the gender wars between black men and black women are at an all-time high. At the same time, we find ourselves in probably the most dangerous situation we've been in since slavery. It's not a coincidence. We're busy fighting each other as opposed to fighting with each other against the white power structure. If you can destroy the black home, you automatically destroy the black revolution because the home is the training ground for the revolutionaries. So if the black man and black woman are at each other's throat, then the white supremacists can sleep peacefully at night.
Yeah, so now they talk about Pookies and Ray Rays and single
Mm-hmm.
mothers and this,
Mm-hmm.
and there doesn't seem to be a sense of a family unity. And even if there are single mothers united with men or men united with women in that way, or maybe I'm just maybe something that's gone past me. You know what I'm saying,
Well,
Mom?
you're right, Baba. And then there's another thing. And don't get me wrong, Baba. I know that no woman wants to share their husband no more than I want to share my wife. But we also have to look at the fact that black women, because of the Eurocentric conditioning when it comes to love and intimacy, white people believe they own. White men believe they own their wives. And so our women, as well as our men, we have this European concept of where we own each other. That's my wife. That's my husband. Just because that's your wife and your husband don't mean you own them. And so black women have a hard time wrapping their minds around the fact that you may have to enter into a conversation about some form of polygyny for some predetermined time. It doesn't have to be eternal. It doesn't have to be perpetual. But when you look at the scarcity of black men in this society, able-bodied and being able to earn and care for a family, socially, politically, and mentally, there's a scarcity there. So for these mothers who have multiple children, many of them need to consider some sort of a polygynous relationship so that those children can have fathers. There is no
Yes,
way we fix there's
definitely.
no way we fix the black community, Baba, if you do not give every boy a heterosexual male in that home. Every black boy has to have that because he has to be trained in the art of leading the community, and he has to be trained in the art of revolution for liberation. That's not happening right now.
You know,
Pookie and Ray Ray is the product of a single parented fatherless home. That's not the black woman's fault. I want to be clear. The single black mother-led household is a product of the white power structure. They invented that vis-a-vis the mass incarceration of black males, vis-a-vis the economic castration of black males. So I don't blame the mother for being a single mother. What I'm saying is that the community has to have a conversation about fatherlessness and how to heal it. And you can't have a conversation about fatherlessness if you don't at least entertain the possibility of some form of polygyny.
well, also, I saw one way where a sister was talking about how black men are a threat to them, and I'm
Mm.
saying, is she serious?
That's
Yeah,
the toxic. That's the toxic feminism. Just like on the male side, you have this toxic manosphere where they literally hate the opposite gender, Baba. I'm seeing conversations on the internet where men are professing their hate for black women and black women are professing their hate for black men. It is dangerous. And the reason it's so dangerous, Baba, is because the children are watching this. Now, if they want to talk like that when you amongst your sister circle. Talk like that when you bonded with your brothers. Although I don't support that conversation on either side of the aisle, if you have to do it, don't do it within view of the children. But they are irresponsibly projecting this toxic energy about the opposite sex out in the open for not only black children to see it, but for the entire planet to see how much we hate one another. How can you respect the people, Bob? How can you respect a people when the man and the woman of that community refuse to unite against a common enemy?
it's very interesting. When you had lectured in Newark, I think because I saw you on a couple of occasions there. you were talking about some of the things that if a parent is not paying attention while their children are going through the different grades in school, that the school system will label, especially boys, which will therefore justify putting them on medication, Ritalin, or whatever the case is. Can you touch on that?
Absolutely. The special education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys, which is the title of my first book.
That came out in
Um,
2013. In fact, we're going to show that later too.
yes, sir. March 6th of 2013, which is the anniversary of Ghana's independence. Um, but Baba, the whole special education system, it preys on Black boys who have been properly miseducated, or should I say improperly educated. It preys on them, Baba. They know that these boys can read. They know that they can count, or should I say they know that they can if they were taught. But they take Black boys who they know they didn't taught, and then they throw them into the special education processor. They throw them into this ADHD processor. And now, once you get in special ed, you're never catching up anymore. Once you get put on that medication, you'll never be able to think the same anymore. They are literally destroying the futures of Black boys right in front of our eyes with parent permission. Because what I always tell parents, Baba, is don't tell me what the school did to your son. Tell me, tell me what you did to your son. He can't go to special ed unless you got him evaluated. You signed the evaluation. You signed the IEP. You signed the service agreement. So this entire special education and ADHD Holocaust, and let us be clear, Baba, this is a prelude to genocide. It's a prelude to genocide because either one of those, special ed or ADHD, is going to largely work against you graduating from high school on time if you graduate at all. And you and
You,
I know if you drop out of school, if you drop out of high school as a Black male in 21st century America, you're going to have to engage in crime in order to feed your family. So it is a special ed and ADHD to prison pipeline.
you mean the parents have to actually sign off on it? That
Yes,
means
Baba.
that the educational structure is absorbed of anything because the
Absolutely.
parents
Because
signed off on it.
yes, I cannot. I'm a school psychologist.
Yes.
I cannot evaluate your child for special education. I don't care if it's deafness, blindness, brain injury, speech and language impairment, orthopedically impairment, other health impairment, autism, emotional disturbance, intellectual disability. I cannot evaluate your child for any of the disabilities if I do not have your signed consent. The Black parent gives consent for the special education to prison pipeline to operate.
Well, what justifies the Board of Education beginning to label, especially our young Black boys, um, special education?
It's because when the federal government invented special ed, Baba, they rolled it out like it was a solution instead of a problem. They said if the child has a disability, they can get extra help. So when Black parents hear that, they think special ed is some sort of a panacea. It's not, because what special education is an education in low expectations. Once you get that label, reading disabled, math disabled, that automatically affects the way you see yourself. It affects the way the teacher teaches you. Most of all, it absolves the system of any responsibility for your academic failure, because after all, Baba, you've been evaluated by the white psychologist and erroneously determined to be learning disabled.
And
That
the parents
LD
signed off
label,
on it.
it's a lynching. The LD label is a noose around the academic life of a Black boy. It literally sucks the life out of them. And what a lot of parents don't know is once you are classified with a disability, once you're given an IEP, once you go in special ed, private schools do not have to accept you. So if your son is in third grade, Baba, you let him get labeled with emotionally disturbed or reading disabled. Guess what? Now you want to send him to a New York City private school. You're going to pay the tuition so he can get a better education. Once they find out your son had an IEP, they can legally reject him because special ed is a public school law. It does not apply in the private school. So if you have a public school disability, I do not have to allow you in my private school.
And so, what justifies the medications, Ritalins, and all that stuff?
You can't justify it, but I'll tell you how it's justified. Upon the complaints, most Black boys are drugged up almost exclusively, Baba, on the complaints of white female teachers and Black female mothers. What
Repeat
the
one more time.
white
Excuse
female
me.
teacher,
Yeah, repeat that one more time.
the white female teacher intentionally and the Black female mother unknowingly collaborate in the ADHD exploitation and domination of black males. When you go to the psychiatrist with a letter from the teacher saying he can't sit still, and then the mother is tired of being called. See, the mother just stressed out, Baba. And I don't blame the black mother for this. I blame the black community for not wrapping our arms around our mothers so they're not so stressed out. Because when that mother is stressed out, Baba, she's going to do whatever she needs to do to reduce the stress. Y'all calling me every day. Y'all suspending him every week. What do we need to do? She goes to the psychiatrist with that same hopelessness. So the psychiatrist says, the white teacher says he can't sit still. Black mother says she don't know what to do. Let me write a prescription. Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, Cyclert, Medicating. The list goes on. And these drugs, Baba, are pharmacologically almost equivalent, almost exact replica of heroin, crack cocaine. They are on the Drug Enforcement Agency of America has Ritalin in the same category as opium, I believe it is.
Really?
For addiction. It's a Schedule 2. Yes. Go to the DEA's website. We are giving our children drugs that have the same effect and same power to destroy their minds as crack, heroin, and opium. If it is illegal to sell drugs, Baba, if it's illegal to sell narcotics, how can it be a good thing to give them to school-age children?
There's no justification, really, when you
No
think about it like
justification.
that.
$30 billion a year Wall Street makes off doping up Americans. $30 billion.
Are you serious?
Oh, absolutely, Baba. It's a cash cow. They pay for the teacher conferences. Oh, yes, the drug companies, they run the whole show, Baba. They fund the American Psychiatric Association. They fund the American Psychological Association. They fund the National Education Association, the American Federation of Teachers, the National Research Council. The drug companies is paying everybody to keep the drugs flowing. And the way you keep the drugs flowing is to keep the misdiagnosis coming. ADHD, conduct disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, disruptive behavior disorder, intermittent explosive disorder, emotional disturbance. Baba, the
These
diagnosis.
just labels. They're labels.
They're just labels. People's opinions of your child that can and are often untrue. But guess what? The teacher don't want to be bothered with the black boy, and the black mother don't know what to do with him. So guess what we do in that case? We give them a chemical straitjacket. We put some chemical handcuffs on them. And that's what Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, and Medicating are. Chemical straitjackets, chemical handcuffs, a psychological death. How can you learn when your brain is amped up on crack? Have you ever seen a drug addict sit down to learn a lesson? They can't. It's impossible to be high on dope and learn something. So how can our children learn, Baba, if they're high on drugs? They can't, but nobody cares, because the purpose of public education, just like prison, the purpose of both the public education system and the prison system is not to teach black boys, but to control their behavior.
I know I've seen once time about a 8 or 9 year old child, a boy on medication, and he sat in there and he looked like a zombie.
That's what they
He
do.
was out of it.
Out of it. And
He
nobody
was
says
out of
nothing.
it. And I mean, I was just blown, man.
Yeah. Oh, it's every day, Baba. The school is not even a school no more. It's a psych ward. It's a psychiatric hospital. You're not guaranteed to learn, but you are guaranteed to get some medication. And now they have a movement to bring psychiatry in the schools. So a lot of inner city schools now, Baba, they have it in Philly. I know they have it in New York City as well. Many of the major black public school districts, where the psychiatrist has an office in the school. The clinical psychologist has an office in the school. The behavioral health company has an office in the school. So they don't wait for the mother to take you to the clinic no more, Baba. They just take you down the hall, and the psychologist is waiting to label you and give you a prescription so they can get paid. It's all about the money, Baba. This is not about helping or healing nobody. This is about money. The psychiatrists get paid, psychologists get paid, special education program gets paid, the parent get a social security check, the case manager gets paid. Everybody is pimping the black male child in the name of mental health. There is no mental health for African people, Baba. There is no mental health. There's only financial exploitation in the name of mental health.
You know, some people are gonna get upset with you. You know that, Dr.
Let them
Umar.
do it, Baba. Let them do it. And what bothers me, Baba, is I'm probably the only psychologist I know of in the country, black, who tells this truth.
I know.
Very few psychologists, black ones, even conscious, they don't tell this truth, Baba,
Well, how can they
because
be conscious and not tell the truth? I don't understand.
there's so much money in mental health, Baba. They they out here making $5, $7, $10,000 in evaluation, Baba. These black psychologists ain't gonna pay
Whoa,
nothing.
whoa.
Baba, I could be a millionaire if I go back to the system. With my popularity, if I changed my tune and started labeling every black boy that came before me with some made-up white man disease, I'd be a millionaire in a year, Baba. Mental health is big business if you don't have any integrity. Mental health is the perfect industry to get in if you don't have any integrity. And let me tell you why, Baba. Because the diagnoses we give cannot scientifically be proven to exist. So if you don't have no integrity and you say he got ADHD, who's going to challenge it? If you have no integrity and you say he got conduct disorder, who's going to challenge it? If you have no integrity and you say she got a reading disability or he got a, nobody's going to challenge you, Baba, because there's so much money in the diagnosis that nobody's going to question it, not even the parents. And that's why I'm on my crusade to do what I do.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, well, what about the parents? Well, don't parents have
They
a
are miseducated. They're miseducated. They don't know, Baba. And that's why this book, my second book, they need both books, but the first book is out of
I'm
print
gonna
right
show
now.
both of them. I'm gonna show both of them in
They
a minute.
need this because this shows them how to win. This shows them how to say no. This shows them how to stop the exploitation of your child in the name of behavior and low reading scores. They got to get educated. And the schools do not want educated parents. Any school that tells you they want parent involvement is a lie. They don't want black parents involved because they don't want anybody to question how they treat and educate our children.
Okay, let's put up your first book that was written in 2013. Tell us about this book.
Psychoacademic Holocaust was actually a graduation gift to myself, Baba, but I made it for the community. When I got my doctorate in clinical psychology from the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine in 2013, well, I graduated in 2012. The book came out in 2013. I said, I have to write a book now. Let me get a book out now that I have my doctorate. And that's where the motivation came from. Partly, the other part of the motivation came from me witnessing firsthand as a school psychologist, a certified school psychologist, and a child therapist at the time, witnessing firsthand how special ed and ADHD were being used as nooses around the necks of black boys, suffocating out their potential in life. It's a Holocaust, Baba. It is literally a Holocaust. That word is not an exaggeration. When you look at the amount of black boys who are diagnosed with these learning disabilities and put on these drugs for ADHD just because a white teacher said so.
And this is the one we've been talking about. Tell us about this one. This just came out a couple of years ago in 2020.
Yes, sir. This is the follow-up. And this book here goes a step further than psychoacademic Holocaust by giving parents the actual letters that they can reproduce and send into the schools. Believe it or not, Baba, right before this book came out, the Pennsylvania Attorney General sent me a letter. Right before the book came out, I was advertising the book, and he threatened to strip me of my credentials.
Really?
He said if I continued engaging in what he called bigoted speech. He gave no example of what bigoted speech was. Bigoted speech, Baba, was teaching black parents the truth. He basically threatened me for telling black parents how to win this war. See, Baba, there's no statistics being kept on how impactful my work has been. But after 25 years, you're not going to tell me that I have not influenced this system in a major way just by virtue of empowering and educating our parents. You can hardly walk into a school and not mention my name and not get a nasty look from the principal.
I was going to say they either love you or they dislike you.
Absolutely. And that's the way I want it.
There's no middle ground for you, I notice. You
No
know?
middle ground. But that's the best way to be, Baba. You know why? Because nobody, you don't have to convince nobody. When I walk into the room, my views are so clear cut, so honestly expressed. You either love them or you hate them. I give no room for ambiguity, and I prefer it that way. It saves me a lot of time.
But what's so amazing about this book is you prepare letters for
Yes.
parents to offset when they start coming at you about, well, he's fidgety. Well, he's hyperactive, and start to lead into the justification of medicating the child. All they got to do is
Absolutely.
pick up this book.
In other words, the parent has no excuse. You have no excuse to let them miseducate, special educate, medicate, juvenile incarcerate, because I'm telling you in this book how to fight back against all of it. Your child in special ed, they're not learning. I tell you exactly what you need to say in your letter to get that child reevaluated and get them a private school placement. These two books, Baba, leave no excuse for Black parents to say, my child is in special ed and I don't know what to do.
Well, I know the first book we showed is available on Amazon. How do they get
Well,
this book?
well, actually, it's not available on Amazon, Baba. Those are bootleg copies.
Really?
The only way you can get my book is through me. Source of Knowledge Bookstore has it.
That's in Newark, New Jersey.
Yes, Positive Vibes Bookstore in Virginia Beach has it. Those are the only two bookstores who have ordered the book. Maybe a few more I'm missing. So if it's on Amazon, it's a bootleg because I only sell my book on my website and at my lectures. I'm privately published. I'm an independent publisher. So if the book is on Amazon, it's a bootleg copy and it's probably being sold at a much higher price than what I do. People
I
are people are they're showing me the book for $300, $200, $175. I would never make my book that expensive because the book is for Black parents to help their children. Most of our kids are raised by single mothers. How can they help their child if they got to spend $200 for a book? I would never charge a Black mother $200 for a book, but that's what these Negro capitalists are doing with bootleg copies of my work.
Well, to me, the seller that price is to discourage them from even wanting to buy the book.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is what that's saying. Because we used to have this saying: if you want to hide it from Black people, what do?
Put it
You
in the
put
book.
it in a book. Okay. So if you got a book of this nature and they're bootlegging it, jacking those prices up, obviously that is to discourage. Oh, and let me tell you another thing too. One day I heard some Black kids. They just got out of school, and they says one of the kids was talking. The other kid said to him, "Oh, you think you're white because he wants to learn." Where does
Absolutely.
that come from? Where does that come
It
from?
comes from in the Black community, we have allowed education and learning to be aligned with feminine behavior. And the reason it got aligned with feminine behavior, Baba, the reason learning got aligned with feminine behavior is because Black boys do not see men in their immediate community who have excelled academically. Because when the judge gets his appointment, he moves out the Black community. When the teacher gets his master's degree, he moves out the Black community. When the dentist, the engineer, the psychologist, the university scholar, they don't live around Black boys. So Black boys don't see masculine educated Black men on a regular basis. What they see are masculine athletes and entertainers. And since
Yeah.
all the men they see are athletes and entertainers, they drew this conclusion that has never been corrected, that education and the pursuit of knowledge is a feminine endeavor.
And this explains why athletes and entertainers in the Black community are given more panache or more respect
Oh,
than
absolutely.
a scholar, a
They don't
teacher,
want you using your brain.
a professor,
They don't
a
want you using your brain.
politician, an
We
engineer.
don't know. We don't know what Michael Jordan could have done with his brain had he not ended up in the NBA. We don't know what LeBron James could have done with his brain had he not ended up in the
And
NBA.
he's a
We don't,
billionaire.
absolutely. Steve McNair, Muhammad Ali, although they were great athletically, their contribution to the race has largely been made on the athletic field. We already know what Black people can do physically. We already know we're the most physically talented race in the world. We know this. We don't need it to keep being shown. We already know that. Kareem showed us. We didn't need Magic to show us. Jordan showed us. We didn't need Kobe to show us. LeBron showed us. We don't need Steph Curry to show. We already know what we can do physically. Our children are not convinced of what we can do intellectually, Baba. And that's why I keep telling these children when I go to these career days, I'm always telling them, Don't be the basketball player. Be the man who owns the team and
Team.
writes their paycheck. Don't be the football player or the gangster rapper. Be the man who owns the record label and write their check. People in three-piece suits still make more money than people in a basketball suit.
Yeah, in fact, now the NCAA, they talked about how it's going to be the billions of dollars going into this season.
Oh, man, they are
It's based
exploiting
upon
us.
black football players, black basketball players, and in fact, because of our athletes, they kind of draw that kind of money that pays for other the white more oriented
Oh, they
sports
run. They
in
they they, they pay for the whole university, Bob. They pay for the whole university. When the Fab Five of Michigan went through that scandal, Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson, Juwan Howard, when they went through that scandal about taking money from boosters or what have you, somebody made a comment on the documentary and they said they took down the Final Four banners. They punished the players, but nobody got a return on the tickets they bought. Nobody got a refund for all the basketball jerseys and T-shirts and cologne and Air Nike. You see that, Baba? They didn't touch the money. They punished the players, but they didn't refund nobody's money. So it's all about the money. It's all about the money. And that's why I'm disappointed, because our professional athletes should all be pushing our high school athletes to go to HBCUs. LeBron James should be pushing high school basketball players to go to HBCUs. All these black football players, they should be pushing for our children to go to HBCUs, because if the HBCU had that revenue, because the Division I white colleges, Baba, they are living off these black athletes. They're funding the whole school. Why
that's
not do
what I
that?
understand. That's what I
Why,
understand.
why not do that for the HBCU? The fact that Deion Sanders is the coach for Jackson, Mississippi's Jackson State University in Mississippi, that's bringing millions of extra dollars into the school just by Deion Sanders being there, because everybody wants to see him coach. Everybody wants to see his play. Just his presence is bringing extra millions into that school. Why can't other athletes do the same?
Makes sense to me. Now, it's so amazing. I could talk to you much longer. We're almost into an hour, but I want to talk about, you have an event coming up this Saturday, the 10th, there in um, Wilmington, Delaware. Tell us, first of all, this is a flyer. So you wanna tell us about this, Baba? I mean,
Absolutely. This is the
uh,
second annual Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy Family Festival. I want to invite all my New York family to come on down, Baba, all my New York family to join in the festivities. It's this Saturday, 5 more days, September the 10th, which, by the way, Baba, is a full moon in Pisces, I believe. Okay,
exactly
it
right.
comes it comes
Exactly
in at
right.
6 p.m. It comes
Yes,
in at 6 p.m. at the start of the fashion show. And we start at 10 o'clock. We got food, we got games for the children, we got drumming, we got free t-shirts, we got the vendors, we got the performers,
now,
Baba.
are
I'll
those
be
books
signing books.
available? Are those
Yes, my
books
book will
available?
be there. Say again, Baba.
Good. No, I was going to say, are the books available, especially the
The
Black Parent
Black
Advocate?
Parent Advocate is available. Yes, sir. It will be
Okay.
there, and I will be signing books, taking pictures. It's going to be a great day of fellowship, conscious family fraternizing. So we want New York to come on down. For those of you in New York who want to take a bus, Mother Ya Asante Wa is taking a bus from New York, Baba. And if anybody wants to go from New York on the
Do you have
bus
a
to,
number for her that you can give us?
yes, they can call her at 929-624-4142. That is
Right. Good.
929
Good.
624 4142, or they can text me for her information. My cell, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. Please go to fdmgfestival.com and register.
In fact, I want
FD,
to put up that banner in a moment. And one thing I saw is you have Alpha Male Academy.
absolutely, Baba. We got to put the alpha back in the black male, and we got to let them know that it is a divine masculinity, not a Eurocentric masculinity. It's not a masculinity that misogenizes women. It's not a masculinity that doesn't allow women to show their divine potential. It's not a masculinity that curses and beats up other men and promotes killing and conspicuous consumption. We're talking about a divine masculinity, Baba, that speaks to our need as men to protect, to prepare, to produce, and to proliferate African people, to give opportunities to our women and give opportunities to our children, and to build the institutions and systems that the Black community needs, and then to defend them with our very lives. That's divine masculinity, not this fake Eurocentric, artificial hip hop and athletic masculinity. That's not what we're talking about.
Well, those of you who are listening, please take a screenshot or get your camera. Take this. This is coming up this Saturday, the 10th of September, there in Wilmington, Delaware, and the address is 601 East 17th Street there in Wilmington. One thing I noticed in this in the flyer you put, they must show their driver's license, whether they're drivers or
Yes,
not.
Baba. We have to have, as you know, I do have my detractors. And in
Huh?
order
You got
to keep,
plenty of them, buddy. Okay.
absolutely, in order to keep a hold on who walks into our campus, we will be taking the photo of the driver's license, and they will be privately kept and privately held in an FDMG file. Nobody sees them. They're only there in case someone engages in anti-African behavior, and we need to find that person and sue that person for their behavior on our campus. So everyone has to show their state-issued driver's or non-driver's license in order to be admitted into the festival, except children, obviously.
Or as our old folks says, if somebody come there and want to act a fool.
Absolutely. We got to know who they are, Baba. We got to be able to find them, let the community know, and prosecute them. We're not allowing anyone to come and disrespect what so many African people have sacrificed over the past 8 years, contributing their money to build, Baba. We have gotten donations from Africans in every part of the world. I believe we're the first school in the modern history that was purchased with money from Africans from every single continent on the planet Earth. There's not a country you can name, Baba, where African has not donated to FDMG. And that's important. Why is it important, Baba? Because a lot of American Africans think they're the only ones responsible for FDMG. That's not true. And I'm very thankful to my donors in the States. Make me, let's not get it twisted. I love my American African family. I belong to that branch of the African family. But our Africans in Africa, our Africans in the Caribbean, our Africans in Canada, in Europe, in Central and South America, Australia, they donate to the school as much as the American Africans do. So FDMG is a campus that is owned by Africans in the diaspora. It is not an African American thing. It is a global African thing. I am a Pan-Africanist, a Garveyite, and I say that unapologetically.
That's interesting. You know, Martin Luther King's father was a Garveyite, and Malcolm X's father was also a Garveyite, which is very
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yes, and
Very, very interesting.
Malcolm's father was murdered doing the work for Garvey, and it was Malcolm's father who
That's
wrote to
exactly right.
President Calvin Coolidge demanding the Honorable Marcus Garvey's release from prison. It was Malcolm's father who led that fight to get Garvey out of jail.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
They don't
Now,
know that.
DMG, I know it's Frederick Douglass. What's MG?
Marcus Garvey.
Marcus Garvey. Okay. It's interesting. Frederick Douglass was an Aquarius and Marcus Garvey a Leo.
Absolutely. Me and
And
Garvey before they
Leo, and I'm an Aquarius. Okay.
Ah,
Just a coincidence. I know that's it. But
yes, sir.
so I think now at the bottom is you see there is no excuse for not getting in touch. As my guest is Dr. Umar Johnson. He's an educator, advocate, lecturer, author. His IG, this is your Instagram. Would that be correct, Drew Mari?
Absolutely. Instagram at Dr. Umar Johnson, Twitter at Dr. Umar Johnson, Facebook, Dr. Umar Ifatunde, TikTok, Prince of Pan-Africanism with a K. Also, Baba, you can add actor to that now. I just came from filming my first movie in Cleveland, Ohio. It's a Black love movie. And it's going to be coming out later on this fall or early winter. And I'm the lead star in the movie. It doesn't have a name yet.
Autograph them, buddy. Would I see you?
Yes, sir. So, and I'm also working on a documentary too that'll be coming out soon. The shockumentary, America's Psychoacademic Holocaust Against Black Boys. So you got the movie and you got the documentary that'll be coming out.
And these two are your phone numbers where people can reach to find out about the activities that are taking place.
Absolutely.
Saturday.
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
There are two of them, two numbers, and also they can go to the FDMGfestival.com.
Yes, sir.
And that's the website. And also you have an email account where people can reach out to you.
Absolutely, Bob.
Let me say this. Is there anything you want to say on the closing word? This has been very powerful. I didn't even know kind of what questions to ask other than education is always very important. And I don't understand how you're going to have a so-called great nation with an illiterate people. I don't know how that
Absolutely.
works.
It doesn't
I
work
really
that way,
don't.
Baba. We gotta build our own schools. I just want to encourage people to continue to donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Get on your Cash App, $FDMG School. Please beware of the fake Cash Apps out there that are misrepresenting our name. Again, $FDMG School. If you're not sure if you got the right Cash App, text me and I'll send you the right Cash App. PayPal. If you want to use PayPal, it's paypal.me/FDMG Academy. So it's FDMG School on the Cash App and it's FDMG Academy on the PayPal. You can also donate with a check or money order payable to the FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. You can also bring your donation on Saturday when you show up to the festival. Please remember, if you do not pre-register, you will have to register at the gate. You will not be allowed in without ID and without registration, but only those who pre-registered, Baba, will get the free food and the free gifts. You can still come in by registering at the gate, but you're not going to get anything free unless you registered online. And online registration will probably end sometime Thursday. So you want to get online and register at fdmgfestival.com. I also, Baba, want to remind them that I have my own video streaming service now, www.drumar.tv, www.drumar.tv. That's why I'm putting all my new videos, Baba, because Facebook and Instagram keep on striking my videos and suspending me from going live. So I'm
I
doing
wonder
everything.
why, though, Dr. Umar. I wonder
It's the
why.
message, Baba. They fear the message. When you get on the internet, you know, you do educational material. You have some of our elders, some youth who do educational material. But if you look at the bulk of the content on YouTube coming from Black people, it's gossip, it's slander, it's sensationalism, it's comedy, it's celebrity news. It's not relevant information. So when you put out
Everything
relevant
the things that
information,
are serious.
absolutely, you become a target when you stick to serious subject matter.
Well, let me tell you this. As I said, you have not been the most popular person in the room, but I will say this to you, my Leo friend. You have always been consistent.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. And to be honest with you, Baba, I probably am the most popular person in the room because there's nobody else in the conscious community. I understand what you're saying, but there's nobody
Yeah.
else in the conscious community who gets the love that I get. I mean, we have two schools purchased by the people because of their faith in me. I mean, just think
Yeah.
about that. We got a whole campus that the people gave me the money to purchase and are still supporting so we can renovate that campus and open up a school for our children. So yes, there's a lot of haters, but the haters don't even compare to the supporters. There's probably 1 million supporters for every hater. The only difference between the haters and the supporters, Baba, and I see some of the coons in your chat, the only difference is the supporters are very mature, very focused, very serious. The haters are very emotional, very immature, and very consistent in their slander. So you see the same people saying the same thing, which gives the false impression that it's a lot of them. I got a couple hundred haters, but I have
But you know,
millions
I haven't
of
even
supporters.
taken a look at any of the comments, and it's not about that. It's about trying to get people on point, the importance of education and the saving of the black male, the black boy. That's all my
Absolutely.
concern is about.
But I don't mind the negativity too, Bobby, because a bird cannot fly unless he goes against gravity. So you need a little pressure to bring out the great in you. What did Muhammad Ali say? I want my opponent at his best. So when I win, I know it was a victory.
Yeah,
And I
there's
want
no
my
question.
haters
There's
at
no
their best. So
question.
when we open up the school, I know that I did it against all odds.
Well, let me say this, Dr. Umar. I want to thank you very, very much. This is his uh, uh, event that's taking place. This is his way of getting in touch with him. And I do want to thank you very, very much, Dr. Umar, for even coming on my show. I don't know about other people, but I felt honored that you would come on to talk about something that's dear to me, which is education. Uh, you got to have a critical thinking mind. And as I often tell my viewers, you either think for yourself or somebody will do your thinking for you.
That's
And
right.
obviously, a lot of people are I don't like to exercise that option, but I think that's the best way to go. At least that's where I'm coming. That's how my father raised me. He was a man that didn't play. So anyway, much respect to you, Dr. Umar, and you
Yes,
take
sir.
good care of yourself. All righty.
Likewise, Bob. Appreciate you.
Anytime. The feeling is mutual. So let me do this, folks. I'm going to be telling you who I'm going to have uh, coming up this week. Let me do this. Okay. And let me do this. All right. So as I said, this is Education Week. And so what I'm going to do is I've just had Dr. Umar Johnson on, and this Wednesday on the 7th, I am having another doctor uh, that some people find interesting too. And this is Dr. Phil Valentine, talking about education, its purpose, its role, the things he does and whatnot. So this is how it is. So for those of you who want to sign up for my free monthly newsletter, September is out. This is just the 5th day of the new month. There's a lot of things going on this month. The new moon is coming up on the 10th, as Dr. Umar stated. Also on the 10th, the same day, or the 9th or 10th, or depending on what part of the world you're living in, Mercury goes retrograde until October the 2nd. So it's going to be very, very interesting. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. I hope you found this. I know I'm going to read the comments later. Don't worry. Don't worry. My whole thing is to bring knowledge to people, good, bad, or indifferent, but hopefully it'll be of help. And at least there's discussion. All righty. So everybody, I want to thank you very much. All of you have a blessed day. Until then.